You've been watching decentralized finance for a while now. Seen some people make a fortune, others lose everything. You want to get involved now, but the complexity is insane. The risk, unbearable. Let's face it, you have no time to specialize in decentralized apps, and no money to lose either. Well, there is an easy way to earn returns from DeFi. A solution with no trading involved, no hassle. A place where you're always in control. Just deposit funds and watch your savings grow. We're talking about an app. We're talking about the Yield app. DeFi banking in your pocket.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another YieldLabs webinar, all on how to build your crypto portfolio like a business. This is an exclusive webinar series that YieldLabs is doing just for us, Yield app, and we have founder Kevin Bradford with us now. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Really excited to do the next one, the last one in the series, and it's been really fun so far. So yeah, thank you. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I am. Thanks. It's been really fun, actually. It's been really interesting looking at crypto in a more kind of financial planning lens and how you can build a portfolio and pick your equities, pick your risk assets, pick your, passive income, and de-risk, which we'll be talking about today, rather than that kind of trading element, which is what people tend to focus on. So
yeah,
I'm
let's looking at it kind of just a little bit of through a different lens, just trying to be a bit more kind of conservative, but also we can make a lot of money doing this too. So obviously it's not financial advice what we're saying or what we're advising, but it's kind of once you've managed to generate wealth in crypto, you really need to look after and protect it. So hopefully we can help people with some of that mythology today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So should we just jump in with who you are, what YieldLabs is, and then we can kind of go into the meat of it from there? What do you think?
Sure, let's do it. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, sure. Just click share screen and I will bring you up.
Kevin Bradford joined.
Let me know when you can see that, Rebecca.
Got it.
Sorry, just my voice closed up.
All
right, let's jump straight into this. So yeah, we're just continuing on the this webinar series. So the title of all of these seminars are basically being like businesses work for you, so you don't have to work. So we're kind of what we're trying to do is approach the portfolio in a different way. Looking at the kind of portfolio as a business, because effectively you are running a business with the tools and techniques that are available in crypto too. So we're going to do some introductions, and then we're just going to, as I said, look at the just touch on kind of what we've covered before in terms of the portfolio is evolving, and there's different ways now. Then we're going to kind of jump on to kind of stable coins and using how to use or utilize or ideas for how to use stable coins, and they're very powerful in this ecosystem, and also use them as a cash buffer, offsetting volatility, and kind of when to structure certain methods of passive income, and when you might want to consider that, and then when you might want to go a bit more risk on in the market. So we're going to, obviously nothing is financial advice that we're saying today. It's just kind of educational content and just ideas and mythologies just for you to kind of digest. And then we'll do question and answers as we go. And then we'll just make an interactive session. And it should be a lot of fun. So for those who don't know me, my name's Kevin Bradford. I've founded YieldLabs this year, but I've been various roles. I'm probably on my third or fourth career at the moment. All of them have been fairly successful. I was in the automotive industry straight out of school, and then fell into the British Army when I was lacking a little bit of a direction in my life. But that soon gave me a bit of a direction, and it was a really good time. I was a communications technician working on like tactical systems and satellite communications, and then I worked in the oil and gas arena after that for I think it was 13 or 14 years. Worked my way all the way through up to kind of country management level. And then I just retired from my career after working very hard at it, because I found crypto in 2017 and just studied, and I found the category of yield on digital assets right at the beginning when it was just a kind of a promise and a white paper. and I was fascinated by it, and I didn't realize I'd kind of hit a mega trend at the time. Quit my career, hadn't kind of, it was obvious 6 months later with the bull run and everything and the pandemic, but yeah, it was a bit of a leap of faith. And now I founded YieldLabs in 2021, and basically we've put a wrap around our work. We've worked with a lot of different companies, Yield app included, just to provide content and educational and community building. So just a little bit around kind of YieldLabs and its community, because this is one of the main focuses of what we provide. We have like an open and multi-community format, so anybody is welcome to join. Please, if you feel free, if you'd like to, just join the community. We provide unbiased advice, always in the best interest of kind of the community members, and we're always everything we do is kind of focused at giving the high quality content away for free to our members. So any community is welcome. Any members are welcome with any opinions, as long as they're kind of adding value to the group. So we do like the regular content schedules, YouTube. We do a lot of videos. We've had some great interviews recently with some founders of various projects. We do Zoom calls, private ones, Medium articles, lots of different stuff on social media as well. And as I mentioned, we believe this model is disruptive because we give away all of our content for free, and then we monetize in different ways through business to business or through high net worth clients, or basically take from the richer people and give back to the poorer people. So a lot of kind of incentivizations and initiatives in our community to kind of for you to join content, and there's monetary value given away as well, just to make it just a fun place to be. And also one of our other objectives is kind of trying to showcase some of the talent. So we're really trying to pull out talent from the community, and then you're welcome to come and speak on our platform, and just add value to the audience. So we know that there's tons of awesome people in the background that just probably too shy to speak or not had the chance before. So come and engage with our community, and you're welcome to join the panels and speak. It's open to anyone. So, and then the final thing we try and do is just drive the industry to a higher standard. So we are unbiased. We only pick projects that we really believe in. Yield app is a solid company, and we've done a lot of diligence on it. So we really like working with the team, and we believe that it's in the best interest of the community, obviously, because you can earn great yields, and has a 100% proven track record on security at the moment. So it's all good. If anything changes, we obviously we're not afraid to kind of just call out whatever's happening, and we really want to be a voice of kind of reason within this crazy space, and kind of almost an authority on kind of the category of yield. So you can find us on all of the usual places, kind of Twitter and YouTube. Our following's growing pretty fast. I think we've cracked on the way to 11,000 on Twitter now. It's growing really quickly, and the YouTube's great as well. A lot of tutorials on how to kind of access these things and access these yielding products, and what to look out for. And also there's a great Telegram group. I think we've got nearly 1,000 members in there. So a lot of discussion. Feel free to find the links on via Twitter or different places. I think, and all the videos in YouTube have the link, so you will find it there.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of the introductions over. So just quickly, we've touched on this for those who haven't watched the 2 sessions before. Basically, we're looking at the portfolio rather than a buy low, sell high portfolio. We're looking at different ways to kind of structure a portfolio now, what that means, and the different components in the portfolio, assets, liabilities. Feel free to watch the previous 2 sessions that are on YouTube, and then also the perspective on how we view the portfolio. Do we look at it in kind of token denomination, or do we look at it in dollar value, and how that kind of couples with the landscape, both crypto and macro. And then also the mindset is very important in terms of like long-term approach, risk management, without whilst making some gains, and looking at high quality balance sheets rather than kind of just speculative pump and dumps and different things. And we really believe that the level of participation in this ecosystem is very low, and the kind of mentality, even from very smart people, is pretty poor. You'd be surprised on the amount of companies that I go in to consult with and talk to, and they're building awesome projects and awesome tech, but they're even themselves just being complete degenerates with kind of their own portfolios. It absolutely astounds me that these people are doing it. But I guess the law of crypto and the get rich quick mentality kind of sucks everyone in. So we're really just trying to like break that barrier down a little bit, and let's try and use some tools and techniques, companies and platforms such as YieldLabs that we can really like not try and achieve maximum gains, but make a really nice return.
So, Kevin, just to clarify, when you said there's low participation in this space, you mean the yield generation space rather than the crypto space?
Sorry, Rebecca, what were you referring to there?
So you said that there's low participation in this space, and then you said that there's also a lot of kind of, to quote you, degenerates. So if you
just the quality of kind of the participants and the approach is generally just even company CEOs I see and work with, and I'm just and members of exec boards, they kind of participate in pump and dumps and different things, and just because they don't
degenerates, the CEOs,
but basically not that they're just not thinking. They're very smart people, but they're not thinking about the portfolio in a sensible manner. You don't approach a traditional stock portfolio in this manner, but you come into crypto and it's just this gambling mentality. So it's kind of trying to break this away a little bit and like give people alternatives. And generally when you give someone an alternative, they'll say, okay, that makes complete sense to me, but nobody is kind of doing this content out here. So hopefully we can deliver a little bit of that today, and we have done in the other sessions. Okay, so jumping into kind of stable assets and kind of why it would be prudent to, we're kind of building on the last two webinars, and why it would be prudent to hold a balance of stable assets or a cash buffer, or whatever we want to call it, and kind of what we could do with those. So I think for me at the moment, definitely stable assets are probably one of my favorite types, and obviously it depends on portfolio size. So if you have $100 portfolio holding $100 of stable coins, is probably not going to get you too far, but it's also, if you don't understand what you're doing in the market with $100, then $100 of stable coins really going to help you protect your portfolio. So once we're able to achieve a certain level that is meaningful, then there's many ways we can utilize stable coins.
And Kevin, just to stop you just real quick, just in case we do have any real kind of beginners with us, which we probably don't, but just in case we do, stable coins, what are stable coins?
So basically there's a lot of different flavors of stable coins, but it's a representation of a currency, of a fiat currency. So basically a digital representation, which is tradable or usable within the crypto landscape on the various platforms and blockchains.
And you've got USDC, USDT, UST, TUSD listed here. So that would suggest that most stablecoins are US dollar backed. Is that right?
There's pretty much every currency, but the most liquid pairs are obviously the US dollar, just because it's the reserve currency, and kind of crypto is kind of new to a certain extent. And so the most amount of liquidity is basically on the US dollar pairs, and that's what's traded in the majority. Obviously there's euro and yen and pound as well. They can be traded, but for the sake of just explanation, US dollar is the kind of the main pair.
Just a teeny tiny segue as well. So a lot of people struggle, wouldn't like to compare a stable coin to the US dollar or to the pound or to the euro on the fiat currency that it is pegged. Can you explain why you shouldn't really compare the two in terms of their stability?
Yeah, so I guess the thing is with stable coins, and we have kind of 4 examples there, it's kind of looking at, so the US dollar is obviously supposed to be backed by whatever is backed by in the bank vault, a representation. Each of these 4 category or 4 examples here, they kind of, 1 is algorithmic, 2 are basically, or 3 are basically collateralized, collateral backed. So and there is a lot of and some are heavily kind of more regulator friendly, and some are kind of more DeFi kind of native and and kind of experiments, I would say, in their own right, but they're quite successful at the moment. So UST, for example, it's an algorithmic stablecoin, which is basically not backed by anything, but backed by a peg. So it's pegged to the standard dollars. The USDC, the Tether, the USDT are basically backed by collateral. So there is something tangible behind them. So that's the comparison, basically. And then obviously there's so many more benefits by holding the stablecoin.
And they can provide portfolio stability, as you say here on your slide, because, you know, unlike, I assume, unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, Ether rather, that is going up and down quite wildly day to day, these perform in line with the fiat currencies they're pegged to, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, and there's many tools and ways to basically maximize, you know, high yield on stablecoins. So I think, you know, Yield app at the moment is basically 20.5 on USDC, and then that's paid out in kind of two currencies. So it's paid out in the YLD asset and the USDC asset. So obviously you can go on the calculator and do those calculations yourself, depending on what balance and what tokens you have. But there's a lot of other ways in crypto that we can kind of utilize these assets. It just as a basic stable coin to kind of lossless farm, just, you know, have that cash ready to deploy into the market, increase your yield, because, you know, 20% yield is, you know, that's achievable via your platform, for example. So it's kind of, you know, people just kind of see stablecoins as a boring asset that's not able to kind of generate a lot of gains. But really, when you look at kind of what you're able to produce on a stable coin, which is a base 20.5%, if you hold, you know, the required assets to kind of unlock those gains, the reality is that it's probably nearer kind of 30 or 40% with the appreciation on the tokens that you're actually minting. So it's actually a really cool way to kind of just earn and earn quite a lot without actually experiencing any loss at all.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so the up to 20.5% APY available with us is based on being a tier 5 member, and that's somebody that holds 20,000 YLD tokens, and that's the appreciation that Kevin is referring to, because while you're holding the 20,000 YLD tokens that allow you to be a tier 5 member, that gives you the highest APY, and then you potentially profit from appreciation on the token. However, nothing is financial advice. Crypto can go down as well as up, and you may lose all of your capital. So please do bear all of that in mind.
Absolutely. But you're not going to lose. Basically, the whole thing with the stablecoin is you're able to access a yield, and you're not going to lose the underlying principal, right? So that's not going to diminish to nothing unless the US dollar diminishes to nothing, and then we're basically all in trouble anyway. So that's the least of our worries. So yeah,
we need a shotgun and a tin of beans, not really a crypto portfolio.
Yeah, so all we have to kind of understand, basically, all we have to kind of understand when we're holding a stable coin is it is subject to debasement. It's not an appreciating asset. It can, you know, basically we can mint appreciation in various tokens, native or otherwise, but we need to outpace debasement and inflation. So as long as we're accessing high rates or decent rates like the YieldLabs platform or others offer, then that's all good. And obviously new market participants, anybody that's kind of getting into crypto for the first time, don't start with any speculative assets whatsoever. Start with stable coins, learn, and just earn more than you earn in your bank, 10 times, 100 times more than you earn in your bank, and just start there and protect your capital at all costs. And it's a great way for new market participants to kind of understand crypto. Obviously, we have friction onboarding and offboarding with stable coins, but there's lots of different ways now, and it's just a you know, lossless way to basically earn some passive income.
Kevin, can we break for one question on stablecoins?
Sure.
So Cat Dad on YouTube asks for your thoughts on the MIM stablecoin. Do you know anything about this?
MIM? No, I don't. I thought you were going to say, I thought we were going to say M stable when he started M, but no, I don't know anything about that stable coin. But obviously, what I would say is make sure there's some volume behind the stable coin, i.e. some, you know, pick the renowned ones, the ones that are on the YieldLabs platform or are kind of trusted and the most regulated offerings. And then there is a contenders, which there's some other options there, but obviously do your own research, understand what it is you're getting. It's not always a kind of fiat, a regulated product. So just make sure you understand what you're buying and where to deposit and how to kind of get back into fiat land if you need to do so. So just do your own research. But no, I'm sorry, I don't know what that stablecoin is.
All right. Well, Cat Dad, sorry, we don't know, but just be careful is all we're saying.
Yeah, be careful. There's a lot, and there's cool products like MStable, which is basically a basket of stable coins within a stable coin, if you like. So lots of different really cool things that you can kind of look at, and people just really so I guess the point of the whole slide is basically people just really underestimate the power of what you're able to do with stable coins, how much you can kind of make and how you can really protect your portfolio and create a high yield at the same time. So all used in moderation, they're really good assets. So I guess we come on to kind of does the value, or what is the value of a portfolio, and kind of how to kind of offset volatility in a portfolio. So again, like I said at the beginning, it's kind of the perspective. How do we view a portfolio? So a lot of people don't kind of understand this, and most people are looking at just kind of the US dollar denomination of the portfolio. Is the value of my portfolio today more than it was yesterday in dollars, rather than kind of, and I'm not saying that's a right or wrong approach, but what I'm kind of promoting and I want people to think about is basically think about it in both ways. So think about it in token, in raw token count, i.e. do you have more Bitcoin? Is your portfolio worth more in Bitcoin today or Ethereum today, or whatever asset that you kind of, or YLD, whatever you value and however you kind of want to attack the market, and your basically expression of what you think crypto is and how it should be valued is the way you should be measuring your portfolio, whether that's dollars, whether that's Bitcoin or Ethereum, or whether it's all of them together. So yeah, basically you are able to hold in Bitcoin and basically earning revenue off it. Does give you a completely different perspective on kind of crypto, because if you are valuing it, say in US dollars, and you have some Bitcoin, the ability to kind of generate that revenue stream is just a game changer, because you're going to be a lot less likely to kind of give up the Bitcoin or Ethereum and sell it, because you're basically cutting off your revenue stream. And the whole promise of kind of crypto is that most people just come into crypto and they want to kind of get to a number, exit, and go and buy a load of stuff. The whole promise of crypto is that we'll be able to generate wealth on a wealth management platform like YieldApp or whatever you want to use, and then basically create that revenue stream for life. So we build up the capital, and then it's the revenue stream that we want to live off in the future. So
is it more like we want to look at so we did a piece actually on our blog a couple of weeks ago where we looked at a few different levels for income. So somebody that's looking for $500 of income per month, someone who's looking for $1,000 of income per month, someone who's looking for $2,000, and then the kind of portfolio size you might need for that kind of revenue. Is that the sort of approach you're looking at?
Yeah, so that's basically whatever is meaningful to you. Yeah, and I saw that piece. It was a good piece actually, and I don't think anybody's written one like that before. Maybe they have, but I thought that's the exact kind of mentality that really we want to be looking at. And what is it that's meaningful for you? Is $100 a month additional to pay all your bills meaningful? Is it 500? Is it $1,000 a month, or is it $5,000 a month? Everybody has their limit. If we can kind of or a point where we get to that point, and now we can really look at life differently. It's not just looking at finances. It's like, okay, I'm generating $2,000 a month now, and I get $2,000 salary. I've now got a second job, and I can maybe get rid of the first job and do something I want to do. There's a lot of, and through all of this, and basically plan out where we want to get to in the end. So the whole revenue and yield on crypto, it does give you that ability to offset the volatility. So as long as your revenue stream is constant, or not getting hammered alongside the kind of asset prices, if you set up a portfolio properly, you can basically always protect your revenue stream, and then the volatility of the assets is kind of diminished, because whether it's X or Y, we know over the next 3 years that it's probably going to trend up while maintaining that revenue stream at the same time, which is really life changing, because once we get to that point, we're really we have true freedom, and we can really like do the things we want to do, or work even harder and then retire early, or whatever it is that you want to achieve.
And I guess it kind of helps you keep an eye on the bigger picture as well. It might, because we talked last week a little bit about taking the emotion out of investing. And I suppose if you actually have a goal, if you have an objective that you're achieving every month, then, you know, that kind of daily fluctuation, weekly fluctuation in assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum are not going to mean, you're not going to grab at your heart and your gut quite so much if actually you're achieving that kind of monthly goal anyway.
That's it, yeah. And then like when we kind of couple that with kind of how we view do we view in token or do we view in dollar? So if you're earning more coin and then your volatility, your revenue has gone down, then that's okay, right? And there's definitely times where we want to earn more coin or token and not look at dollar. And there's times where we maybe want to look at dollar and then kind of like, okay, I can turn this into a really cool revenue stream that's really going to change my life. $10,000 a month, $5,000 a month. Some of these crazy numbers. This is life changing. But very achievable if over a number of years, if we really do this. And once we get this structure, we can really like take a hands-off approach, use the tools and techniques, and just sit and basically farm on our assets. And then you're free at that point, and then you can basically sell what you need to sell. And then invest.
And it's about financial freedom, isn't it? And that gives you, as you say, it gives you that headspace to be able to make kind of other decisions without the emotion of I'm about to lose everything on this one bet, because you've got that plan in place.
Yeah, and what most people don't understand again is that basically you are winning multiple ways, right? So let's say you have a level of Bitcoin or you have a level of YLD in your portfolio, you're basically earning yield on that. You have the ability for that. So that's one win. You basically, the asset can appreciate, that's 2 win. The compound on top of that, so you basically got 3 or 4 wins. And then obviously if the value of that asset diminishes and you highly value that asset, you're able to purchase more, or you'll be able to yield more with other assets. So you can win basically every way if you set up like a well-hedged portfolio. And we're not here to kind of tell people what to buy, but just to kind of set that mindset, right? If I set up my portfolio in a way where I have my value of expression of what I believe in the market, what I want to accumulate, and when I want to accumulate it, and then when I want to look to, and how can I track that and make sure these assets are on the right path. You really can't win. You can't lose at that point, because you're basically creating a revenue stream. You're adding assets to your balance sheet. The assets are going to appreciate over time. It's just maths. Even if we take a 3-year approach, probably Bitcoin's going to be a lot higher in 3 years than it is now. That's not financial advice, but it doesn't really, that's not rocket science. So yeah, you basically win in all the ways, and with the compound in effect as well. So it's really, really powerful.
Yeah. Can we break for questions just for a second?
Sure.
Well, first of all, both Cat Dad and Danny Parker tell us that we should really know about MIM, because apparently it is gaining on MakerDAO's TVL, says Cat Dad, and Danny Parker says that MIM just flipped true US dollar. So I think you and I need to figure out what this MIM thing is.
Yeah, look, I don't use true. I don't even know where true USD is. It's just an example, but yeah, I stick to the bigger stuff. I like the algorithmic stable coins. I think there's a real purpose for those, but there's a risk attached for those as well. But I really like the concept. But yeah, I don't know everything. I can't know everything.
More research after this, Kevin, you and I, and we can maybe get in on a good thing.
That's it. That's the point, right? The community can educate us too, right? It's not about us knowing everything. So
absolutely. So Oliver Arsenault, my French is terrible. I'm sorry, Oliver. As we cover the approach on how to run our portfolio like a business, Kevin, in your opinion, what would be the 3 drivers that would lead one investor to run his portfolio in the most efficient manner? 3 drivers for the top efficiency.
It depends what you want. If you want max gains, like most people do want, and I don't promote that, then obviously you just buy a lot of risk on assets and pray that the market doesn't collapse or the stock market doesn't collapse. So if you want a revenue stream, it depends where you are in your crypto journey. Are you there day one? Are you there 5 years in? If you're 5 years in, you probably accrued quite a lot of money, so you want to kind of protect that from the downside, and you don't want to wake up and the portfolio is swinging around 20, 30, 40% a day. It's very stressful once you get up into larger numbers. You don't want to see that on the balance sheet. So yeah, it's very hard to answer that question directly, but it depends because it's so personal. But basically, where are you? What are you trying to achieve? And kind of
Right.
set
How
yourself
much do
up.
you have? What are you trying to
Yeah.
achieve? How comfortable are you with volatility? You know, all of those things are really important
And
questions.
what's your life? What's your lifestyle? If you're like me and just don't have that many expenses and you live, and you're not married with no children, then it's,
You're
that's
so
one thing.
modest, Kevin. Don't believe him, everybody. He's living the high life, driving Lamborghinis,
No,
drinking
I
champagne
don't.
all day.
Maybe the champagne, but not the Lamborghini. I don't even have a car. So like, basically, yeah, like then it's easy, right? Like, so if you've got 3 kids and 3 lots of school to pay for, then we have to think a little bit differently.
Right, you need different income streams. So one more before we go back, if you don't mind. So Hugo Fonte says, Kevin, in your opinion, would it be a good option to have the possibility of earning yield with Pax Gold in a CeFi platform? So I assume that question is kind of asking about holding, because I guess Pax Gold is kind of replicating physical assets, perhaps.
It is, yeah, and I think that look, gold over the last few years has basically been a stable coin. So from my perspective, I don't hold any. There's been a few years ago, I was very interested and I thought gold would respond very differently with what's just happened with the pandemic and the money printing and inflation and different things. But I think it's, if you're a gold bug, then I don't hold in the physical asset, trying to move it, trying to do this and that, trying to sell it. I've got some physical and it's very, very difficult to sell. You take it to people and they won't give you spot rate for it. They'll give you a lot less. So having an asset that you could basically, and it isn't physical gold, right? Yeah, it's backed by it, but you can't touch and feel it. So there's pros and cons to that. So I think it's meaningful. I think in crypto, it's very unsexy. That's how I would kind of describe gold, just because Bitcoin outperforms it and outcompetes it in pretty much every single way in terms of every single metric you look at, and even just even sending it around and everything is just kind of outcompeting gold. So is it a good play if it fits your portfolio? Yes, and the differentiator is the yield, right? The 7% or whatever you can get on it. That's amazing. So if you want some gold, if I was going to buy some gold exposure, I would highly consider a product like that. I'm not I don't know Paxos or I've actually met a couple of people from there, but I'm not, affiliated in any way. And I don't think YieldLabs have it on the platform yet. Maybe they will in the future. So I just think it's very like inside crypto. It's unsexy and kind of not that many people are attracted to it, but it's definitely a meaningful kind of tokenization of an asset.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like the kind of gold ETFs that you get out there in traditional finance, where you can kind of have either this physical backed or kind of indirect exposure through gold companies. People feel very comfortable with the idea of a physical asset. And actually, this is one of those things that makes Bitcoin, in a weird way, sort of attractive, because even though it's virtual, it still does seem to be more tangible and more physical as a single thing than perhaps even the US dollar these days, which is backed by nothing. In fact, it used to be backed by gold and is backed by nothing now, other than the Fed balance sheet. So this idea of having something kind of physical behind you does seem to endure, even in the crypto space, as you say, which it is kind of unsexy, but there are, I've spoken to huge crypto whales that tell me that they're out there buying gold. So it's an interesting thing that people are still kind of very attached to that idea.
It's a good bridge, right? And it's a good, like, another gateway drug. Like the stable coin's a gateway drug into the space, so people can kind of understand. So when they come into crypto, they don't understand anything else, but they understand a stable coin, because it's not hard to understand a digital version of a normal, money, right? So it's the same with gold. So I think the products are good. And being able to yield on gold is amazing because it's not appreciating at all. Look, maybe it goes on a screamer over the next few years. Maybe it does. I don't know. But if you haven't yielded on gold in the last 2 years, you're going to be, or whatever it was, 18 months, you were very, very disappointed because you were basically.
But if you do believe the apocalypse is coming, then
I
guess gold's your winner.
maybe Bitcoin as well, if that's the apocalypse. Yeah, I guess with apocalypse there's no internet, so
right. So you would need
pretty useless.
Shotgun and your tin of beans, guys. Have your shotgun and your tin of beans ready to go.
and your air raid shelter and all the other stuff. Yeah, weapons if you're in America, or somewhere you can access weapons. Get it all.
Right, let's get out of apocalypse land and should we move on?
That's it. So basically, yeah, this slide is the same as from the last seminar, but it's very meaningful. So basically, when are we going to kind of purchase what? How are we going to value our portfolio in different, adjusting to the market in different, sectors? So obviously in a bear market or a consolidation periods, this is the kind of time. And let's bear in mind, this is not a very, let's make 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 moves per year. These phases are kind of 3 or 4 year phases. So if we are taking this approach, and just as this example on the slide, and it's a very like rudimentary example, but it's just for effect. Basically, you're not moving your assets around all the time. So in a bear market that can last like 1 or 2 or even 3 years, accumulating more coin or token would be prudent if it's the right token, and you have to make sure it is the right asset. And if you're not sure if it is the right asset, stick to the major assets. Would be a great play, and obviously yielding more coin on coin, or put in stable coins to work to earn you more coin. So what do I mean by that? Is basically if you're using stable coins to kind of farm or mint another asset. So for example, let's pretend the YLD price crashes to kind of 10 cents in a bear market, and you have $100,000, then you're going to get a lot more YLD if it's an asset that you really value in that scenario. So basically picking and choosing when you use stable coins, when you're going to physically purchase risk on assets at the right risk on time, and then when you're going to combine these approaches into a well-balanced portfolio is definitely how you make a lot of wealth. I've managed to generate wealth in this way in a bear market phase, generating a lot of coin on stable coins. And then obviously when we have just idle capital and we kind of, nobody ever knows when a bear market phase is finished, but a combination of kind of farming with your dollars and kind of deploying idle capital in these in those phases, and then kind of extracting or kind of taking risk off the table in the basically when the market's hot. So it's very easy for me to put this slide up and just show people like, oh, you should do this here, this here. Actually, in reality, it's very, very almost impossible to achieve. But we kind of know when we're in the winter, and we know when we're in the summer, and it's just about making.
Kevin? Do we?
Yeah, I think we're in the summer now. It feels pretty warm. It's pretty good, right? So it's pretty warm. So as long as it's lukewarm, it's all okay, right? So we know when it's winter because basically nobody is interested in crypto anymore, and the Ethereum gas fees are like 1 gwei. So that these are very easy. These are easy ways to spot. So this is a nice slide just to basically show that we can deploy capital in different ways, how we can adjust the portfolio to a market sentiment, and when to kind of use stablecoin to farm risk on assets, when to use stablecoins just to farm native stablecoin, when to deploy stablecoins, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess any questions on that, Rebecca?
Well, I mean, I have a question. I mean, the
Sure.
famous investing adage is it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? So, I mean, back in my former life as a traditional financial journalist, I'd run these numbers over and over again, and the answer was always just stay invested, ignore the noise, forget about the cycles, because if you try to be clever and pull your money out and put it back in, and pull your money out and put it back in, you'll probably lose money in the end, even if only in transaction costs. Does that not hold true for crypto, or are you talking about something slightly different here?
No, that's exactly it. So the thing is, with this slide, it tricks people into thinking they have to do something today, but in reality, from going from point 2 to 3, it can be 3 years. So 3 years in crypto is an extremely long amount. It's a lifetime, basically. Yeah. So I made a lot of adjustments whenever, just before May, but that was after 3 years of not touching a single thing. So it's just for effect, the slide, and I totally agree. If you don't know what you're doing, then just time in the market is the way. It's the only way to really outcompete, and it's not about buying and selling. What I'm talking about is basically when we're Bitcoin's at 250,000, probably gonna maybe that may, and you
money off the table.
Yeah, let's be sensible, right? And let's add to our kind of stable coin yield and different things, and protect ourselves. And we've still got plenty of assets in the balance sheet at the same time. So,
and when is Bitcoin going to be at $250,000? Kevin, can you tell us, please?
I don't know about that. I don't make such predictions. I'm very bearish in my predictions, and I'm very conservative. So I think,
Keith
I'm not.
Waring. Where's Keith
I,
Waring when you need him?
yeah, I'm not going to make those. I'm not going to make those predictions. But I hope it's sooner rather than later. But
Right.
yeah, I just take it one step at a time. So let's break 60, whatever it is,
And
63,000
then see
first,
where we go from there.
and then
So we
see
have
where we
another
go from there.
question from somebody who's really challenging my notorious inability to pronounce names. So Bim Uzu, I think. BJMUZU. I apologize for massacring your name. Kevin, do you think these kinds of yields will remain in the future, i.e. not decline with more and more people coming into DeFi? And when will yields stabilize in DeFi?
So that's always everybody's first question, and then they kind of couple it with like, I'm not going to bother because the yields aren't going to last, and then they do nothing. So I would counter that question by saying, if you believe that, and I'm not saying you do, but the majority of people just believe the yields are going to subside, and they do nothing. So I would say do something now, because if that's what you believe. But from my experience, I've been in this category since the beginning. I think there's a number of years left at these types of yields. Let's take YieldLabs, for example, because we're on this show. Will that last forever at 20.5? Probably not, no, but will it still be highly attractive? Yes, I believe it will, and then let's look at the alternative. The alternative is and let's pretend everything crashes in crypto, yield wise, 50%, and we're still getting 10% instead of 20. And that's still many, many X's above the bank. So I believe, from what I've seen in the last few years, that the yields will remain for a number of years. And the amount of projects coming out, the incentivized yields, different ways to earn. I just think there's just like a plethora of options. YieldApp is one, and it's a good one. So just, and YieldApp will bring out more products, more different ways to earn yield, more tiers, more, there'll be so much more. And I don't know what's coming out, but it's an innovation company, so they're going to bring out lots of different offerings and different ways and referral programs. And so there's the base yields on certain projects might subside, and they have done on other projects, but I think the category, there's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40% on stablecoins for a number of years. And I just think that the capital, we're so early in this space, even though it's kind of matured in terms of like total inflows. There's just so much more money to come in yet, and it hasn't. And it just takes time, and everybody takes time to kind of adjust their mentality, get a risk appetite, come in. So I just think there's plenty of time left. So do it now. Use stable coins to kind of mint riskier assets if you want to. So there's lots of different ways to kind of just skin the cat.
Right. Hashtag not financial advice.
Yeah.
But I think that question feeds into something that we get a lot, and that I personally get a lot when I speak to people that have no experience or exposure to cryptocurrency, which is, how can you possibly pay 10% base APY? How is that possible? And I think that that's because a lot of it is because we have been bred or indoctrinated, or whatever word you want to use without getting into the 4chan world of kind of conspiracy, to believe that actual, even sometimes negative interest rates are what people should expect. They are the norm. But in fact, they are a product of monetary policy since 2008. They are a product of what the central banks have decided to do in terms of printing money and quantitative easing and so on. And, we won't go into too much detail on that. But effectively, what goes on in the traditional financial world, which is controlled entirely by central banks, entirely by policymakers who set rates at which we all, have to abide by in our bank accounts, that's not the same rules in cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, where effectively the peasants are making their own hay. So it's a different world. But I think it's very difficult for people to think that it's anything other than fraudulent when out there in the traditional financial world, you've got interest rates of 0.5% if you're lucky.
Yeah. So basically, people don't understand how the 20% is derived. So that's right. Just for YieldApp, for an example, to kind of generate 20.5% on stable coins, yeah, they could probably do it, but there wouldn't be much left. But it's not, right. So let's look at the breakdown of what they're providing. They're only actually giving you 10 or 10.5, and then they're incentivizing the yield. So this incentivization and these monetary policies are everywhere in DeFi and crypto, and it's a lot of experimentation. Some of them are there's all sorts. I'm not going to mention any names because people just go run off and buy them and blame me. But there's a lot of cool. There's a lot of cool projects and policies,
Right.
and monetary
And they do things in different ways. But the point is that they're able to do that because the system allows for that level of flexibility, where the traditional financial system allows for zero flexibility because it's controlled entirely by central banks, right?
Exactly. And basically the second component is velocity, right? So velocity in the traditional system has collapsed completely. There's no lending and borrowing. It's just, if you look at the chart there, like M2 money, just Google it, and it's just collapsed through the floor. And then the velocity of money, i.e. the way that money travels around the system, is like on steroids in crypto. So the lending and borrowing, the incentivized borrowing, incentivized lending, all these different things. That's kind of why there's so much. And 20.5, it's not that crazy. Like there's a lot of 50, 60, 70. I would not recommend going to any of these things unless you're like a complete expert. But just let Yield App and companies like this do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You can just sit there, deposit, and just go and get on with your life. It's a lot easier to start with, right? And if you want to get into this stuff further down the road, then after a couple of years, then that's cool too.
Yeah, it's all about the gateway drugs, to quote you earlier, not me.
That's the gateway drug, right? Stable coins are the gateway drug. It's just awesome.
And that segues us neatly, speaking of central banks, into a question from Kay Bauman, who says, Kevin, will CBDCs, which is central bank digital currencies, be usable for the yield generation? Will that be possible?
I would probably say no, just because none of the CBDCs are kind of built in anybody's. So yeah, they will be yield generation for the governments, probably, where they're just going to generate their own yield from taxing everybody else. So I wouldn't be bet, but look, in a perfect world, could we deposit CBDC on Yield App and other platforms and all live in harmony? That would be great, right? But it's probably not going to work that way. So probably not. So just enjoy some of these offerings out here, because there's a lot of abundance to kind of enjoy. So, but who knows? We haven't even got one out yet. So let's see. Maybe they surprise everybody.
Yeah. But effectively, they're going to be a replacement, as it were, for fiat currency, except, my understanding anyway, except they're going to be fully visible and fully taxable. So, in fact, the asset that you really want, guys, by the way, if you want to launder money and sell drugs, is not Bitcoin, it's cash. It's cold, hard cash. And governments know about this, and they want it gone. They want it out. So if you have a central bank digital currency, which is fully visible and everybody gets paid in it, there's no avoiding any tax, and there's no, trying to shift around bags full of cash for shady deals, right?
Yeah, so it is what it is. CBDCs are coming. That's pros and cons. Probably won't be many yield.
Yeah, not too many yield opportunities for the average person.
Yeah, there's a great one. There's a great one for it. You just convert it to USDC and then yield on it that way. There's an opportunity for a CBDC.
Absolutely. So we've got a question from Ice. That's I with a triple S and an A. It's controversial. I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you advise exchanging YLD for stablecoins before a bear market to sacrifice additional APY but gain stability when the YLD price falls? Now, this is a really interesting question that applies to really any income strategy like ours across any of those platforms that you didn't name. But I guess that's a question, do you sacrifice the extra APY to bank on a token price? What's your view on that?
The way I view YLD, there's YLD as an allocation to access higher rates, and then there's YLD that's excess, right? So that's the way I view it, and this is my expression of a portfolio. So my 20,000 I've got, I would never sell it at any price. If it went to $100, I'd probably consider it, but it's probably not going to go there for a very long time. But for me to access, because that's such a small portion of my capital, it's almost infrastructure, and we covered that in the last two sections. So I would never sell that at any price. Now, the additional, that's up to you, right? You can change it for Ethereum. You can keep it if you think it's going to out. You've got to make your own theory and thesis on kind of why you're holding that asset. It's quite a new asset, right? So the risk reward is favorable, and I've written articles on it, so you can go and look at those. So that's up to you. But for me, the core 20,000, I would, if you can afford to do that, and I know not everyone's got like 8,000 or whatever it is now, dollars to get that 20,000 allocation, or maybe you can earn that over time. That's another way to express it or to view it. I'm not, or I don't think anybody kind of in our community is kind of looking to sell that core chunk, because no, but maybe you need to do that yourself. That's, I'm not no judgment.
I mean, again, it's always an individual question, isn't it? But if you've built an income strategy, as we were talking about at the very beginning, around earning 20.5% APY or whatever, 16.5 if you're in ETH, then, you'd have to make quite a lot of adjustments if you decide that you're going to then exchange that APY for, locking in a certain amount of profit. So I guess it's just very individual. As much as we'd like to say, do this, do that, although not financial advice, you've always got to look at your own individual circumstance, I suppose.
Also look at it as a balance sheet, right? So you've got your portfolio is a balance sheet, and now you've got like assets on your back. So it's basically like having a property, right? Like having a chunk of YieldLabs, like having a property. You're not gonna, like, let's pretend you're running a bakery. You're not gonna sell the bakery just because the property's gone up 5 times if it's making you X amount of revenue, right? So if it has gone up significantly, you have to make a judgment at that time. But you don't want to look at crypto in kind of like I'd say a 1 to 5 year window. So in the bear market, let's pretend this theoretical bear market's coming, right? You will need the ability to access higher rates. Will the rates drop a bit? Probably, because of just velocity will drop a little bit in crypto. But yeah, just really think about like selling your core infrastructure if you can afford it. Put it on your balance sheet and just hold it very, very, very long term. And from my experience, like Rebecca said, time, like, holding an asset for 5 years, especially one that's new and has an easy way to track inflows, is probably going to pay off in 3 to 5 years time. Just not financial advice, but what's the risk reward? It can't really drop that much more because the company's only a year old.
Right, absolutely. Although I'll be honest, I've had a couple of occasions where I've diamond handsed it and thought perhaps I shouldn't have done, but then you can never time these things. You can literally never time these things, which goes into Oliver's second question, who just says, from an investor's point of view, is trying to time the market a no-go? And we did cover that earlier, Oliver, but effectively it's very difficult to time the market. Excuse me. It's very difficult to time the market. And so it's typically better to, as Kevin said earlier, if it's something you believe in and something that, you don't need the money desperately, it's typically better to hold on to it, because timing is an extremely difficult thing to do, right, Kevin?
Yeah, so there's a reason why the arrows on box 3 are not pointed at anywhere near the top of that cycle. They're pointed at, I've 3 years later, I bought something and now it's increased significantly. And then the second arrow is like, wow, it's increased ridiculous amount. And then there's still like a third of the market to go. But it's not about timing tops. It's impossible, because you never know where the top is, and you'll never know when it is and where it is, and then the top's gone within a week, or a day usually. So it's just about, has that asset appreciated to a point where it's absolutely ridiculous, and now you can turn that into a major revenue stream by changing it to something else. That's kind of more the point of this slide. It's not about timing. That's why none of these arrows are anywhere near the top or the bottom, because you don't know where it is. You'll never time it. Even if you time it, you won't time it with a whole bag. You'll just time it with like a little bit. So you didn't really time it, did you? So it's just about kind of long term, as kind of taking some profit when you want to do so, or turning your profit into a higher revenue stream. That's how I would kind of phrase it.
Right. And also, when you take profits, try to be brave about it. I mean, I took some profits on Solana, probably lower than I should have done, but I have to stick by that decision and say no, I made a decision, and I looked at a graph, and if you're going to take a profit, stick by that decision.
I didn't know you're a trader. Rebecca. There we go.
Not a trader, just a little. I shouldn't ever. But effectively, I know that I've run the numbers on traditional financial assets many times in my former life, and the answer is always just hold. because trying to get in and out is so notoriously difficult, and you're always going to lose money.
A lot of these assets are productive now. So remember that YLD asset is a productive asset. You're earning 10% on YLD. So selling it, you better be selling it for something that's more productive.
Right.
So 20.5 is more productive than 10. So if you've made a 50x on YLD, and then you can turn that into a 20% revenue stream, then that's a good play. So think about the productivity of the asset. Think about, you don't want to be going into, you basically always want to be up, selling something higher quality or that's going to produce more of a revenue stream, because it's the revenue that you really want, not the whole portfolio value.
Very important. All right.
Cool. So I guess, just final thoughts. Just plan and execute business strategy. So treat this whole thing as a business. What is it you want to achieve? Maybe you don't have enough capital today. Maybe in 3 years' time you will. But even if you don't have what you want now, you can basically plan and work out a way to get there. Maybe that is more speculative risk to get there. And if you can manage to do that and achieve that, then well done to you. A lot of people don't, but it's kind of, as long as you understand what you're doing, that's kind of that's all I'm trying to suggest. So just manage risk and keep your business alive. Don't collapse your business and lose all of your revenue. Just slow and steady growth is kind of how I've seen and then obviously you will have peaks and troughs within that, and then kind of revenue over maximum gains always has kind of been my approach once I learned this methodology, and it's really worked well for me. So dollars for beginners. If you don't know what you're doing, just buy stable coins and don't just deposit and just earn a little bit of money. It's better than losing money. And then obviously education through seminars like this and other pieces of content. There's loads of content on our channels and also on this channel as well. So just keep learning. This is a long process, not a get rich quick. I always say this, it's not get rich quick, but it's definitely get rich if you know what to do, not financial
Get rich
advice.
slow. Get rich
slow. Slow is 3 years, right? It's 3 years.
I love how that's slow in crypto, but in traditional finance, 3 years is short term. It's so
it's not get rich quick. There is no get rich quick. So get that out of your head, and once you get that out of your head, you can really attack this space properly and then use the platforms and tools that are available. So the portfolio is definitely an expression of the market, of how you see it. So always be true to kind of how you see things. If you're a tech guy and you see tech, that's easy for you to see, then you could structure your portfolio that way. If you're conservative, then you can use stable coins and different things. So just don't waste this opportunity that everybody's got to kind of use these tools and techniques, and you only get really one chance to do it right. Don't blow your account out or do anything crazy, and just configure your balance sheet, i.e. your portfolio, just to kind of align with your views and kind of the views at the kind of reality of the macro economy, and you'll probably get this right. So you can find me at these sites and
many places.
Twitter, many places, personal website, but head over to YieldLabs. There's I don't really post too much on these socials anymore, but give me a follow. That would be much appreciated. And we have dedicated social media people who post a lot of stuff out. So I guess any more questions, Rebecca, we can do those.
Well, we've got one very important question from Steve Laker, who says, what football team is Kevin supporting?
I support Man United. I used to have a season ticket, so I've been a couple of seasons. So I love football. I don't have time for football anymore, but I do love football. So not West Ham.
So as hopefully everyone that's watching this video knows, that we are now the official digital wealth management partner of West Ham United Football Club, who is in fact my family football club. I can't say that I actively support them, but certainly my great grandfather actively supported them. So it's a very proud moment for me. So no one asked me, but that's my team. So there you are, and we actually happen to be supporting them now, so I'm very pleased about that. So thank you, Steve, for that question. Oliver has another question. He's very, very, very talkative this evening. He says DCA is often a great way to enter a project and is a kind of opposite to timing the market. Would you say it would be as great to use it to take profits? I'm not sure what DCA is. Dollar cost averaging, I guess.
Dollar cost average, So obviously that's effectively like laddering in, so
Right.
dollar cost averaging
Dripping
in on a
it in
ladder,
month
and
by
then
month, taking advantage of the ups and the downs.
yeah, that's it. And on the way out, that's the right approach. So set yourself up an Excel sheet with a ladder, put percentages like 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, play with the numbers, work out where, and by doing this exercise, you'll actually work out, you can usually exit your positions a lot sooner than you think, rather than waiting for this one big number. If you really like DCA it out, as Oliver was saying then you can basically just de-risk a lot of the, and if things do collapse on you, then you've taken a percentage out. If they do scream up, then you've still got some left. So slow and steady plan. That's kind of what that slide's showing. It's not a do one thing here, do one thing there. It's a kind of gradual process of accumulating assets, waiting a decent amount of time, i.e. a year, 18 months, whatever, 6 months. 6 months could be a long time in crypto too. And then kind of extracting into kind of higher revenue generating assets.
Yeah, and again, that's something that's reflected in traditional markets as well. I mean, the times that I've run numbers on, the FTSE 100 or the S&P 500, looking at the difference between putting a lump sum in, say $1,000 over 5 years, or drip feeding $100 per month over 5 years, the drip feeding, the dollar cost averaging always comes out better because you are taking advantage of the dips as well as the rises. So it's a really great strategy. And also, it's a really great discipline as well for saving. For investing, right?
I was about to say that. Like the thing with the DCA, it's very easy on paper. It takes discipline. I'm not very good at DCAing. I'm not very good. So I know I'm not very good, and I am a half decent analyst on the chart. So I kind of back myself to I DCA in like 2 to 4 chunks. That's not really DCA. DCA is kind of over a longer period of time, small. So I'm kind of 2 to 4 bigger because I'm impatient, because I can read the technicals, because I can risk manage. I can do that, right? But not everybody can do that. Half people don't even know where we're at on a chart, and the charts don't, that doesn't represent everything. There's obviously the fundamental component, but I back myself to do that, and it's worked for me. So if you don't know how to do that, just DCA, like pick a time in the month and just buy, or even do it daily, right? You can get these apps that do it in daily now for you. So just DCA every day, $20, $20. You'll actually outperform everybody. You'll outperform 90% of people by doing that.
Absolutely. And one little tip though is I would say, not financial advice, but kind of financial advice on this one, I think I'm allowed to say, do watch out for fees and charges. So when you're DCAing, if you can try and pick times where, especially in the crypto world, the gas fees are a bit lower, then that's always going to help, because if you can kind of minimize your fees and charges when you are actually investing, then that's always going to help your bottom line at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's it. So I know my psychology and I know my personality. So I know that I'm impatient and I have to kind of fight that back, right? So that's kind of why. So DCA is for patient people, and if you can master that and master the FOMO of like reacting, it's usually really lucrative.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that wraps it up for questions. Is there anything that you want to add? Any burning tips or things you've missed, Kevin?
I would just say just keep learning. Education is education and time. Like I say, not get rich quick, but definitely get rich. You can earn a lot of money. This is an amazing opportunity. YieldLabs, a decent platform. Other good platforms. Like look at the whole category. Look everywhere. Learn what are YieldLabs doing well. What are the other ones doing well? What are the other ones doing bad? And just it's not a one or done approach, and you can really like use everything and just enjoy everything that's available in this space, and enjoy this type of content. It's very accessible. It's very small. When you really get into the crypto world and you get out there, it's very, very small space. Even though it looks huge from the internet, it's not. It's still very early. So just enjoy yourself. Enjoy the journey. Don't get too stressed about trying to make a fortune straight away. It will come if you just take a longer term approach. So yeah, just keep yourself in one piece and look after yourself as well, like from a mental health, because this is draining if you just get into this space full time. So
yeah, don't become a trader straight away, for sure.
Yeah, that's it. Learning to trade's good, but not doing too much trading, right? Like that skill set's a really good skill set, but yeah, also there's life outside the laptop, right? So that's basically it.
I hear that. I hear there's life outside the laptop.
Yeah.
Rumor. It's a crazy rumor. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the third and final Yield Labs with Yield app webinar series on how to build your crypto portfolio like a business. It's been such a pleasure to have Kevin with us, giving us all of this really, really useful information. All of these webinars are now public. I have been Rebecca Jones, still am Rebecca Jones, I guess, Head of Communications at Yield App, your host. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be doing a new series very soon. We'll communicate that with you. In the meantime, you can find us at Yield App on social media channels of your choice, except TikTok. We're still trying to convince Tim, bear with us. And then you can find Yield Labs on Twitter, as well as all of those lovely places that Kevin just listed, Medium, Facebook, so on and so forth. Check it out. It's a great community. People are really active. It's just very welcoming, very open. People can help you start or, help you take all of that money you've earned on that 2017 bet to the moon even further. I don't know. Make some income on it. It's a great place to go.
Yeah, a lot of Yield app users in our community as well. So come in, ask questions, join the Telegram and just ask questions and people will help you out. If you don't understand what's going on, just say, oh, I'm not sure. What should I do? What's the best? You'll just get a well-rounded answer from unbiased people. So yeah, all good. And I think people are really enjoying this product because it's offering a decent return at the moment. So congratulations,
Absolutely.
Rebecca.
Congratulations, Kevin. It's been a very, very fun session, a very, very fun webinar series. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget to check out the Yield app and Yield Labs community. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.